All right, so are you ready to like really dive into this, Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power? We're talking about that animated YouTube summary. The one that just blasts through all 48 laws.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, get ready, because this is going to be some serious uh, mental gymnastics, because today we're going way beyond just like, listing out the laws.
Yeah, we're going to dig in.
Right.
We're going to like unearth the core principles,
So,
really try to decode some of those, cunning tactics that Greene is talking about.
right.
And hopefully you'll walk away thinking about how this knowledge could actually like be useful to you.
Because let's face it, this is not your, typical self-help book.
Right.
This is like a playbook for how to navigate that often like hidden world of power dynamics.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is that while each law is interesting on its own, the real magic happens when you start to see these recurring patterns.
Oh, interesting.
These frameworks that kind of connect them all together.
So what kind of frameworks are we talking about here?
Well, one that really stands out is deception and misdirection.
Okay. Think about laws like conceal your intentions, use smoke screens, or even like appear less intelligent than you are. They all kind of point to this idea of like subtly manipulating perception to gain an advantage.
Like that saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right? But instead of like physical proximity, it's more about, controlling the flow of information.
Precisely. And sometimes the best way to do that is by appearing less threatening.
Right.
Like less intelligent, even.
That reminds me of that story about Bismarck playing dumb at cards.
Yes.
Didn't he use that to manipulate somebody into signing a treaty?
Yes. He intentionally lost at cards to this guy, Count Bloom.
Count Bloom.
Making him feel overconfident and in control. Bloom was so busy like congratulating himself on his supposed intelligence that he didn't realize he was being played, walked right into Bismarck's trap and signed a treaty that was completely in Bismarck's favor.
It's incredible how like a simple game of cards can become the stage for such like high stakes power plays.
So how could someone apply this appear less intelligent tactic in like, say, a modern workplace setting?
Well, imagine you're in a meeting and your boss is presenting a new strategy that you think is flawed.
Okay.
Instead of directly challenging them, which could be seen as aggressive or insubordinate, you might subtly downplay your own expertise.
Interesting.
You could phrase your concerns as questions, have we considered X? Or, I'm just curious about Y, almost as if you're trying to learn from them.
Okay.
This approach can disarm your boss, making them more receptive to your input without feeling threatened.
So it's about strategically playing down your knowledge to make others feel more comfortable and in control.
Right.
Which ultimately gives you more influence.
Exactly.
That's pretty clever.
It's a classic example of how understanding these laws can give you a tactical advantage in everyday situations.
Okay, so deception and misdirection. Check what other frameworks are at play here.
Another powerful one is cultivating dependence.
Cultivating dependence.
This involves strategically positioning yourself as indispensable, someone others rely on for their success. It could be by leveraging other people's work to your advantage, or even through like calculated acts of generosity that create a sense of obligation.
So it's not just about being helpful.
Right.
It's about being helpful in a way that gives you leverage.
Exactly. And again, Bismarck is a great example here.
Okay.
He cultivated such a strong sense of dependence in both King Frederick VI and his brother William that they became completely reliant on his counsel.
Really?
They felt like they couldn't function without him, which gave Bismarck enormous power behind the scenes.
So it's almost like he engineered a situation where they needed him more than he needed them.
Yes.
Even though they were the ones with the official titles and authority.
Precisely by making himself the essential problem solver, the indispensable strategist, he gained real power regardless of his official position. This applies beyond the world of politics, too.
So how can we apply this cultivating dependence framework in our own lives? Let's say you're trying to climb the corporate ladder. What are some ways to make yourself indispensable to your superiors?
Well, first, you need to become a master of your craft.
Okay.
Be the go-to person for solving specific problems, the one who always delivers exceptional results.
Right.
But it's more than just being competent. You need to strategically anticipate your superiors' needs and proactively offer solutions before they even ask.
So be one step ahead, always ready with the answer, before they even realize they have a question.
Exactly. It's about becoming so valuable that they can't imagine functioning without you. Of course, you also need to be careful not to make them feel threatened or like you're trying to usurp their position. It's a delicate balance.
Okay, so we've talked about deception and dependence.
Yes.
What other power play frameworks are there?
The third one that's crucial in the 48 Laws of Power is all about image and perception.
Image and perception.
This is where things get really interesting because it taps into the psychology of power. Greene argues that it's not just about what you do, it's about how you're perceived.
So it's like that saying, fake it till you make it. Projecting an aura of power, even if you don't feel entirely powerful yet.
It's more nuanced than simply faking it.
Okay.
It's about strategically crafting the image you want to project, understanding that perception is often reality, especially when it comes to power dynamics. Think about laws like court attention at all costs, create compelling spectacles, or even recreate yourself. They all emphasize the importance of carefully managing your image.
Oh, I remember that wild story about the architect Jules Hardouin-Mansart.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he plant deliberate mistakes in his designs for the king to discover?
Absolutely. He understood that the king, like many powerful people, had a fragile ego. By allowing the king to find and correct these flaws, Mansart stroked his ego and made him feel more intelligent.
It's like a subtle form of flattery, making the king feel like he's the one in control, even though it was all orchestrated behind the scenes.
Exactly. And of course, Mansart got all the credit for fixing the problems, further solidifying his position.
It's next-level manipulation.
It is.
It makes you realize just how much of power is about managing perceptions, creating the image you want others to see.
Yeah.
So how can someone apply this image and perception framework in a more everyday setting? Let's say you're trying to make a good impression at a job interview.
Well, first impressions are everything you want to project confidence and competence from the moment you walk in the door.
Okay.
That means dressing the part, maintaining good posture, and making eye contact. But it goes beyond just appearances. You need to tailor your message to your audience, research the company and the people you'll be meeting with, and be prepared to articulate how your skills and experience align with their needs and values.
So it's about understanding your audience and presenting the version of yourself that will resonate with them the most.
Exactly. It's about strategic self-presentation, understanding that the way you present yourself can have a significant impact on your perceived power and influence.
We've covered a lot of ground already, but
Yeah.
these are just the first few frameworks from the 48 Laws of Power.
Right.
It's clear that there's a lot to unpack here.
Absolutely. And as we continue to explore these laws, you'll start to see how they can be applied in all sorts of contexts, from navigating office politics to negotiating a better salary to even understanding historical events in a new light.
Wow.
It's really fascinating stuff.
It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing how Greene manages to weave together history, psychology, and strategy into this, fascinating, albeit slightly unnerving tapestry of power dynamics.
Yeah, it's a lot.
As we're exploring these frameworks, I'm starting to see things differently.
Yeah.
Like those seemingly innocent office interactions
Oh, yeah.
suddenly feel like calculated power moves.
That's precisely the point.
Really?
Greene's book acts as a lens, allowing you to see the subtle, often unspoken power dynamics at play in everyday life.
It's like you're suddenly aware of a hidden language, a secret code everyone seems to understand except you.
Right.
But now armed with this knowledge, you're in on the secret too.
So it's not about becoming some Machiavellian mastermind.
No.
But more about leveling the playing field, right? Understanding the rules of the game, even if you choose not to play dirty.
Exactly. It's about informed self-defense.
Yeah.
Knowing these laws can help you protect yourself from being manipulated.
Okay.
Just like a martial artist studies their opponent's moves to anticipate and counter them.
Right.
You can use this knowledge to recognize and neutralize power plays directed at you.
That makes me think of Law 10, infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's almost like Greene is saying negative energy is contagious.
It is.
And being around toxic people can drag you down.
It's a fascinating law, isn't it?
Yeah.
It speaks to the importance of choosing your associations wisely.
Okay.
We all know people who seem to attract drama and negativity, and their energy can be draining.
Right. Greene suggests that surrounding yourself with positive, successful individuals can actually elevate your own chances of success.
It's like that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Oh, yeah.
So in a way, this law encourages us to be mindful of the company we keep.
Be selective.
Speaking of being mindful, there are 48 of these laws to keep track of.
A lot.
Do you have any advice on how to actually apply this stuff in real life?
Yeah.
It feels a bit overwhelming to try and master all of them.
You're absolutely right. Trying to apply all 48 laws at once would be like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle.
Oh, yeah. No thanks.
The key is to focus on the principles that resonate most with you, the ones that feel relevant to your current circumstances and goals.
So it's more about picking and choosing the tools from the toolbox
Exactly.
that are most useful in a given situation.
Precisely, don't feel pressured to become a walking encyclopedia of power tactics.
Okay.
Instead, start by identifying a few laws that particularly intrigue you or that you recognize from your own experiences. Then consciously experiment with applying those principles in your daily life.
So maybe you start with never outshine the master if you're navigating a tricky relationship with your boss.
Right.
Or maybe you focus on play to people's fantasies if you're working on a marketing campaign.
Exactly. The goal isn't to become some kind of manipulative mastermind.
You're right.
But to become more aware of the power dynamics at play.
Okay.
And make more conscious strategic choices in your interactions. Remember, knowledge is power, but like any tool, it can be used for good or ill.
It reminds me of that quote, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh yeah, a classic.
But in this case, it's more like, with great awareness comes great potential.
Well said. It's about using this newfound understanding to empower yourself, navigate challenges more effectively, and achieve your goals while staying true to your values.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about throwing out your moral compass.
No.
But about adding another layer of strategic thinking to your decision-making process.
Absolutely. And one of the most empowering aspects of understanding these laws is the ability to recognize when they're being used against you.
Okay.
It's like having a secret weapon that allows you to see through manipulation and deceit.
So instead of being blindsided by someone trying to stir up waters to force fish to the surface, you can calmly assess the situation.
Yeah.
And choose how you want to respond.
Exactly. Or if someone's using the mirror effect to try to disarm you, mimicking your behavior to build rapport.
Oh, interesting.
You can recognize the tactic and avoid being unconsciously influenced by understanding these laws.
Okay.
You're less likely to fall prey to them.
It's like those movies where the hero suddenly realizes the villain's plan.
Oh, yeah.
And turns the tables.
Love those.
It's a thrilling feeling to have that aha moment of recognition.
Precisely. And those moments of recognition can be empowering because they give you a sense of control.
Right.
Instead of feeling like a pawn in someone else's game, you're now a player capable of making strategic moves.
Speaking of strategic moves, are there any other laws that particularly stand out to you, laws that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
Disdain things you cannot have is one that stuck with me.
Okay.
It's almost a Zen-like approach to power.
Really?
Advocating for a detachment from outcomes that are beyond your control.
So instead of wasting energy chasing after something you can't have,
right,
you choose to focus your energy on things you can influence.
Exactly, by releasing your attachment to a specific outcome.
Okay.
You paradoxically gain a sense of freedom and control.
It's like accepting the things you cannot change and focusing on what you can.
Yeah.
That's a powerful concept.
It is. And then there's create compelling spectacles, which emphasizes the importance of visuals and symbolism in shaping people's perceptions and swaying their emotions. We see this all the time in marketing and politics.
Right. It's like a politician giving a rousing speech with a giant flag as a backdrop.
Exactly.
Or a company launching a new product with a flashy, over-the-top event.
Exactly. It's about understanding the power of imagery and spectacle to create a lasting impression. And then there's recreate yourself, which suggests that we have more agency in shaping our persona than we might think.
So it's not about being fake, but about strategically presenting the best version of ourselves.
Precisely. It's about understanding that we're all constantly evolving.
Right.
And we have the power to consciously shape our image and identity to achieve our goals.
That's a really empowering message.
It is, and it ties back to the idea that power isn't something that's simply bestowed upon us.
Right.
It's something we can cultivate and shape through our actions and choices.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how all of these laws weave together to create a comprehensive framework for understanding power.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual tactics, it's about developing a certain mindset.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a strategic awareness of the power dynamics at play in every situation, and using that awareness to your advantage.
But what about authenticity?
Oh, that's a good question.
Some of these laws, like think as you like, but behave like others, seem to suggest that we need to suppress our true selves in order to gain power.
That's a valid concern, and it's certainly a point of debate when discussing the 48 laws of power.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that these laws are observations of how power dynamics often play out, not necessarily endorsements of every tactic. I think the key is to find a balance between strategic adaptation and staying true to your core values.
So it's about choosing your battles, knowing when to assert yourself and when to blend in.
Exactly. There's a time and a place for everything. Sometimes it's strategically advantageous to conform, to play the game and bide your time. Other times it's essential to stand up for what you believe in, even if it means going against the grain.
Right.
The key is to be aware of the power dynamics at play.
Okay.
And make conscious choices about how you navigate them.
Okay, that makes sense. It's not about being a chameleon always changing to fit in.
Right.
But about being adaptable and strategic in your approach.
Right.
You know, it's like we've been handed this decoder ring for human behavior, and I'm seeing power dynamics like everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's both fascinating and a little intimidating.
Yeah, that's the thing about knowledge. It can be empowering and unsettling at the same time.
Right.
But remember, this awareness is a crucial first step toward, taking control of your own position within these dynamics.
You're right. Instead of feeling like I'm at the mercy of all these, invisible forces, I'm starting to feel like I can at least recognize them and hopefully make more conscious choices.
Exactly. You're not just reacting to situations anymore. You're anticipating them. That's where true power lies, in the ability to understand the game and play it strategically.
Okay, I'm feeling a little more confident already. So we've covered deception dependence, image crafting, even ruthlessness.
Yeah, it's a lot.
What other big picture takeaways are there from the 48 laws?
Well, one that really stands out, especially in today's fast-paced world, is the importance of adaptability.
Adaptability.
Okay. Greene talks about this in Law 43, work on the hearts and minds of others. But this goes beyond simple persuasion. It's about being flexible, fluid, even a little unpredictable.
So like a chameleon always changing to fit the environment.
In a way, yes, but it's more about having a diverse set of skills and approaches, being able to read a room and adjust your strategy accordingly. Think of a jazz musician who can improvise, adapt to the flow of the music, and still create something beautiful that's the kind of adaptability Greene is talking about.
It makes you a harder target too, right?
Oh, yeah.
If your opponents can't predict your next move, they can't outmaneuver you.
Exactly. You keep them off balance. They're constantly trying to figure you out, which gives you the upper hand. And this is where Law 28, enter action with boldness, comes into play.
Okay.
When you're confident and decisive, it projects an aura of power that can be incredibly influential.
It's like that saying, fortune favors the bold.
Yes.
But it's not just about taking risk. It's about being strategic and calculated in your boldness.
Precisely, boldness without strategy is just recklessness. You need to understand the risks and potential rewards.
Right.
And make calculated moves that advance your position.
You know, I'm starting to see how all these laws fit together, how they build upon each other to create this comprehensive framework for understanding power.
Yeah.
It's not just about individual tactics. It's about cultivating a certain mindset.
Exactly. And that's what makes Greene's work so fascinating. It's not a simple self-help book with easy answers. It's a complex and nuanced exploration of human nature, ambition, and the often unspoken rules that govern social dynamics.
We've covered so much ground today. Deception, manipulation, image crafting.
Yeah, a lot.
It's been a wild ride, but I think we've managed to extract some valuable insights from the 48 laws of power.
I think so too. You know, we've certainly only scratched the surface, but I hope our listener is feeling inspired to dive deeper into this fascinating world of power dynamics. It's a journey of self-discovery, and the more you understand these laws, the more effectively you can navigate the complex world around you.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, I have to ask, what's one provocative thought you'd like to leave our listener with?
Ooh. Okay, let me think.
Something to ponder as they go out into the world armed with this new knowledge.
How about this? If knowledge is power, and Greene has just handed you a wealth of knowledge about the dynamics of power, what will you do with it? Will you use it to manipulate and control, or to empower yourself and others? The choice is yours.
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think about the responsibility that comes with this kind of knowledge. It's a reminder that power is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or evil.
Exactly. Ultimately, the 48 Laws of Power are a reflection of human nature, both its brilliance and its flaws. It's up to each individual to decide how they will wield this knowledge and what kind of impact they want to make on the world.
Well said. And on that note, we encourage you to check out the full book and continue exploring this fascinating and sometimes unsettling world of power dynamics. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.